She was just a little girl selling oranges on the street to save her sick mother. And in one single moment, her entire life changed. Hello friends. Before we begin, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from: New York, Lagos, London, Manila, or Jamaica. Now, sit back and listen closely, because this emotional family story is about love, betrayal, second chances, and how real love always finds its way home. 9-year-old Lila walked slowly along the quiet streets of the rich neighborhood, the afternoon sun pressing down on her shoulders like a heavy hand. Her plastic bag of oranges too big and too full for her small arms cut into her palms. Her feet hurt inside her old shoes. Her stomach had been empty since morning. But Lila kept walking. Every step, every knock on every gate wasn't for herself. It was for Anna, her mother, who lay coughing and feverish on the thin mattress in their one-room apartment across town. The doctor at the free clinic had been kind, but firm. If your mother doesn't get proper medicine soon, her lungs will get worse. The medicine cost more than they had seen in months. So Lila did the only thing she could do. After school, she bought a bag of oranges from the market with the last of their money, hoping to sell them one by one in neighborhoods where people didn't worry about prices. Most houses she tried that day didn't even bother to open the door. A few people looked at her tired face and dusty uniform, then shook their heads and closed the gate before she could finish her sentence. Still, Anna's voice echoed in her memory. "My brave girl, you never give up. Even on the hardest days, we keep walking." So Lila kept walking. At the end of the long street, she saw it. The largest gate she had ever laid eyes on. Behind it stood a mansion so big it looked like something from a movie. White walls, tall glass windows, perfect green lawns, fountains, and flower beds exploding with colors she couldn't even name. Lila stopped. For a moment, she just stared. The house was beautiful, but strangely quiet. No music, no laughter, no children's voices, just stillness. Her heart pounded. What if the people inside yell at me? What if they don't even answer? Then she pictured Anna, alone on the mattress, pressing a damp cloth to her forehead to stop the fever. Lila swallowed her fear, walked up to the intercom, and pressed the small silver button. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the speaker crackled. "Who is it?" a man's deep voice asked. Lila cleared her throat. Hello sir. My name is Lila. I'm selling oranges. They're very sweet and fresh. Would you like to buy some?" Silence. Her heart beat faster. She almost whispered sorry and turned away. Then the voice came back. "How much?" Lila's face lit up with sudden hope. "5 oranges for $2, sir. Or 10 for $3. It's a good price." There was another pause, longer this time. "Wait there," the man said. The intercom went silent. Lila shifted from one foot to the other, hugging the heavy bag against her chest. Sweat trickled down her temple. Her throat felt dry as sand. She hadn't had a drink of water since lunchtime, but she stayed where she was. If this man bought her oranges, she could finally buy Anna's medicine. That thought alone kept her standing tall. After what felt like forever, she heard footsteps, then a loud buzz. The tall iron gate slowly swung open. A man stepped out. He was maybe in his late 30s, with a neatly cut beard and hair that was just starting to go gray at the temples. His shirt was crisp and white, tucked into black trousers that had probably never seen dirt. His shoes shone like mirrors. A watch on his wrist looked more expensive than everything in Lila's apartment put together. But it wasn't the clothes that caught her attention. It was his eyes. They were tired. Not the kind of tired that comes from missing one night of sleep, but the tired of someone carrying too many regrets for too many years. This was Daniel Rivers, though Lila didn't know his name yet. The billionaire. Businessman everyone in the city had heard of, but never seen up close. He looked down at the little girl in the faded school uniform, at her scuffed shoes, and the oranges she clutched like treasure. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise? Confusion? Maybe even recognition. "How many oranges do you have, Lila?" he asked quietly. 20, sir. I'll take them all." Lila almost dropped the bag. All? All 20? Daniel nodded. "Yes, all of them." "That's $6, she said quickly, afraid he'd change his mind if she priced them too high. Daniel reached for his wallet, then paused, looking at her more carefully. Her mother had warned her so many times, never go into a stranger's house, no matter how kind they seem. But Daniel didn't look dangerous. He looked lonely. And she was so hungry that her head felt light. He noticed the fear in her eyes and stepped back a little, giving her space. "You can stay near the door if you want," he said gently. "I promise I won't hurt you. I just don't like the idea of a child walking around in this heat with an empty stomach." Lila hesitated for another moment. Then she nodded. "Okay. But I'll stand by the door," she said. Daniel gave a small, sad smile. Deal. The mansion was even more unbelievable up close. Daniel led her along a stone path through a garden filled with roses, lilies, and tall trees that whispered softly in the breeze. The air smelled like flowers and something clean, like soap or new clothes. He opened the huge front door and stepped aside to let her in. Lila gasped. The entrance hall was larger than their entire apartment building's ground floor. White marble tiles shone under her feet. A crystal chandelier sparkled overhead, throwing tiny rainbows across the walls. Cushioned chairs and couches that looked softer than clouds sat neatly around a glass table. Paintings in golden frames lined the walls, showing places Lila had never seen: mountains, oceans, cities full of lights. Everything was beautiful. Everything was expensive. But everything also felt cold. No shoes at the door. No toys scattered on the floor. No half-finished drawings on the table. No sound of a TV in the background. Just the quiet hum of air conditioning and the faint echo of their footsteps. "Wait here," Daniel said, pointing to a chair near the entrance. "I'll bring you something to eat." Lila nodded and sat very carefully, afraid her old uniform might somehow damage the chair. She placed the bag of oranges by her feet and folded her hands in her lap. As Daniel disappeared down the hallway, her eyes wandered around the room, hungry for every detail. So this is what rich looks like, she thought. He probably never worried about rent. Or medicine. Or whether there would be enough rice for dinner. But if money solved everything, why did his eyes look like that? Why did this giant house feel so empty? Her gaze drifted toward a small wooden table by the staircase. On it sat a photo in a beautiful silver frame. The frame caught the light from the chandelier and glowed softly, like it wanted her to notice it. Lila stood up, curiosity pulling her toward it. She picked it up with both hands. Her heart stopped. The woman in the picture was younger, maybe, in her early 20s, with long dark hair that curled down her back and a bright, open smile. She wore a pale blue dress and was laughing at whoever was taking the photo. Her eyes sparkled with a happiness Lila had never seen in real life. Not even on her mother's face, but she knew that face. She had seen it every day of her life, just older, more tired, more worn down by years of struggle. The woman in the picture was Anna, her mother. Lila's hands began to shake. Her fingers tightened around the frame. Why is Mum's picture in this house? How does this rich man know her? Why has she never told me? Her thoughts spun so fast that the room seemed to tilt. Footsteps echoed behind her. "Here we go," Daniel's voice said. "I made some." He stopped. Lila turned. Daniel stood a few steps away, holding a tray with a sandwich, some fruit, and a glass of juice. But his attention wasn't on the food. It was on the photograph in Lila's trembling hands. The tray shook. The glass rattled. His face went as pale as the marble floors. For a long heartbeat, neither of them moved. Finally, Lila found her voice. This is my mum," she whispered. "Why is my mother's picture in your house?" The words seemed to punch the air out of Daniel's lungs. He took a step forward, then another, as if drawn by a force he couldn't fight. He gently set the tray down on the nearest table, never taking his eyes off the photo. "Your mother," he repeated, his voice raw. "What?" "What is her name?" "Ana," Lila said. "Ana Regis." The name washed over him like a wave. His hand reached out blindly for the wall, as if he might fall without its support. "Ana," he said again, but this time it sounded like a prayer and a curse tangled together. "Ana, yes." He looked back at Lila, really looked at her this time, at the shape of her eyes, the curve of her cheeks, the stubborn little chin that jutted out when she was nervous. He saw something he had never let himself imagine he would see. "How old are you, Lila?" he asked, his voice shaking. 9, she said. "I'll be 10 in a few months." Daniel's breath hitched. 9. The same number of years he had spent searching for Ana. The same number of years he had spent waking up every day wondering where she was. Whether she was alive, whether she had ever loved him at all. A picture began to form in his mind, one that made his heart pound so hard he thought it might burst. "Where is your mother now?" he asked. "At home. In our apartment," Lila said slowly. "She's very sick. That's why I'm selling oranges, to buy her medicine." Tears suddenly blurred Daniel's vision. "Ana is sick," he whispered. "Yes, sir. The doctor says she needs medicine that costs $30. I've been trying to save up." Lila's eyes filled too. "Sometimes I'm scared I won't make it in time." Daniel closed his eyes for a moment, fighting a storm inside him. When he opened them again, there was a new look. There's something fierce, desperate, determined. "Lila," he said, kneeling down so he was at eye level with her. "I need to ask you something very important. I promise I'm not trying to hurt you." "Okay," she nodded uncertainly. "Do you have a father?" The words hit her like cold water. She hated that question. Kids at school asked it in that sing-song voice that meant trouble. Adults asked it with pity in their eyes. The answer was always the same. "No, sir," she whispered, staring down at the floor. "It's just me and Mum. It's always been just us." Something broke inside Daniel. A sound escaped his throat, half sob, half gasp. He covered his face with his hands for a moment, shoulders shaking. When he finally looked up again, his eyes were red and wet. "Lila," he said, voice thick with emotions he could barely control. I think I know why your mother never told you about your father. And I think I know why she disappeared from my life." She stared at him, confused and frightened. "What do you mean?" she asked. "There are things that happened a long time ago," he said carefully. "Things I need to talk to her about. But I can't do that unless I see her. Please, will you take me to her?" Lila's fingers dug into the edges of the photo frame. I don't understand," she stammered. "Who are you? How do you know my mom?" Daniel swallowed hard. "My name is Daniel Rivers," he said. "And a long time ago, I loved a woman named Anna more than anything in the world. His voice cracked. And I think there is a chance that I might be your father. The world seemed to go silent. Lila's heartbeat thudded in her ears. Father. It was a word she had only ever whispered inside her own mind, in the dark, when her mother was asleep. In her imagination, her father was a shadowy kind man who had been taken away by some tragic accident, or a hero who lived far away on a ship or in another country. She never imagined he might be real, standing in front of her, dressed in a white shirt and expensive shoes, with tears in his eyes. I don't know, she whispered. Mum never talks about him. Whenever I ask, she gets sad. Daniel nodded slowly. I'm not asking you to believe me right now, he said softly. All I'm asking is that you let me see her. After that, if she tells me to leave, I'll leave. But Lila, his voice broke, I've been looking for her for 10 years. Just 10, and you're 9. Do you understand? A thought flickered across Lila's mind. 10 years searching. 9 years old? Could it really be? Sir, she said quietly, clutching the frame. If you really want to help, my mum needs medicine first. Please. Daniel straightened. Of course, he said. He took out his wallet, pulled out several bills, and pressed them into her hand. Lila's eyes widened. Sir, this is too much, she gasped. It's $100. Keep it, he said firmly. Use it for medicine, food, anything you and your mother need. And he walked to the desk, quickly wrote down his phone number and address, and handed her the note. Please give this to Anna. Tell her Daniel knows she's alive. Tell her I'm not angry. I just want to talk. Lila stared at the paper, then at the money, then at his face. Did you love my mum? She asked softly. Daniel's expression crumpled. A single tear slid down his cheek. Yes, he said simply. I loved her more than anything. And I never stopped. Lila didn't know what to say. Her mind was swirling, questions stacking on top of each other so fast she couldn't catch any of them. I should go, she finally murmured. I need to take the medicine to Mum. Daniel nodded, swallowing his emotions. He walked her to the gate. Lila, he said, just as she stepped back onto the sidewalk, one more thing. She turned. No matter what your mother decides, no matter what happens next. If it turns out that I really am your father, I am so sorry I wasn't there. If I had known you existed, nothing in this world could have kept me away. Lila's throat tightened. I'll tell her everything, she said. Then, she ran down the quiet rich streets, past the smaller houses, across the busy road. Through the crowded market, clutching the money, the note, and a hope she'd never dared to feel before. Their building was old and tired, with peeling paint and a stairway that creaked under every step. The smell of dampness and cheap cooking oil clung to the walls. Lila burst through the door of room 3B, their one-room home. Mum, she cried, breathless. Mum, you won't believe what happened. Anna tried to sit up on the mattress. The effort made her cough a painful, raspy cough that shook her whole body. When it finally subsided, she looked at her daughter, worry crossing her pale face. Lila, what's wrong? She asked weakly. Did someone hurt you? No. Lila dropped to her knees beside her. Look. She pulled the folded bills from her pocket and spread them out on the blanket. Anna's eyes widened. Lila, where did you get that money? She whispered. Tell me the truth. You didn't? I didn't steal it, Mum. I promise, Lila said quickly. A man bought all my oranges. He lives in a huge house with a big gate, and he gave me this for your medicine and food. Anna frowned. A man? She asked slowly. What man? Lila's excitement dimmed a little, replaced by confusion. His name is Daniel, she said. He's very rich. He gave me food. He was kind. And what? Anna asked, her voice tightening. And he had your picture, Mum, Lila blurted out. On a table by his stairs. It was you, but younger, in a blue dress, laughing. I picked it up because I couldn't believe it. When he came back and saw me holding it, he froze, like he'd seen a ghost. The blood drained from Anna's face. Her hand flew to her mouth. What? Did you say his name was? She whispered. Daniel, Lila repeated. Daniel Rivers. Anna's whole body started to shake. Her eyes filled with a fear Lila had never seen before. Oh no, Anna breathed. No, no, no. It can't be. It can't be him. Mum, you're scaring me, Lila said, tears pricking her own eyes now. Who is he? How do you know him? Why is your picture in his house? He said he's been looking for you for 10 years. He? Anna grabbed her daughter's shoulders, her grip surprisingly strong despite her weakness. Lila, she said urgently, what exactly did you tell him? Did you tell him our address? Did he follow you? No, Lila said, stunned. I just told him your name and that you're sick. He gave me his phone number. She held out the note with trembling fingers. He thinks he might be my father. Anna closed her eyes. A sob tore from her chest. This can't be happening, she whispered. After all these years. He found us. Mum, please, Lila begged. Tell me what's going on. I deserve to know. Anna opened her eyes. For 9 years she had carried this secret like a stone inside her heart, thinking she was protecting her daughter by keeping it buried. Now there was nowhere left to run. She was too sick, too tired, and too cornered by the truth. Lila, she said softly, her voice breaking, there's something I should have told you a long time ago. She took a shaky breath. Daniel Rivers is your father. The word father hung in the air. Lila had half expected it after everything that happened at the mansion, but hearing it out loud still made her chest tighten. So he's really my dad? She whispered. All this time. Yes. Tears streamed down Anna's cheeks. Here's then why. Why isn't he with us? Lila asked, voice shaking. Why are we living like this when he has so much? Why did you never tell me about him? Anna looked away, shame and pain battling across her features. Because I was afraid, she said. Because someone made sure I'd disappeared before I could tell him about you. Who? Lila demanded. Who could do that? Anna's eyes darkened. His mother, she whispered. Your grandmother, Victoria Rivers. Slowly, haltingly, Anna told her the story. She told Lila how she had met Daniel when she was 20, a hard-working waitress at a small cafe, living in a shared room with 2 other girls. Daniel had been charming and kind, nothing like the rich customers who looked down on her. He had come back to the cafe again and again, asking about her day, listening to her dreams. He made her feel seen. They fell in love. He promised to marry her. He gave her that blue dress and took her photo on a picnic by the river on the day he told her he'd bought an engagement ring. For a while, it felt like something out of a fairy tale. Then Victoria Rivers arrived. She came to my tiny rented room in the middle of the night, Anna said, her fingers twisting the blanket. She didn't come alone. She brought 2 large men with her. Bodyguards, I guess. They stood by the door, blocking any way out. Lila's stomach nodded. What did she want? She whispered. To get rid of me, Anna said bitterly. She told me I was nothing, A nobody. Poor, uneducated, a girl from the wrong side of town. She said, if I married her son, I would ruin his reputation, ruin the company, ruin everything she had built. She told me Daniel would never believe me over her, that if I tried to stay, she would accuse me of stealing expensive jewelry from their house. With her money and power, she said, she could make the police lock me away for years. She threatened to make my life a nightmare. Lila's hands curled into fists. That's horrible, she said. But you loved Dad. You could have told him the truth. I tried, Anna whispered. The next day, I went to a payphone and called his number. But, she answered, Victoria? She told me that Daniel never wanted to see me again. That he'd finally realized I was only after his money. She said if I ever called again, she would make good on her threats. Anna's shoulders shook. I was young, pregnant alone, with no family, she said. I didn't know who to trust. I didn't even know if Daniel knew any of this. I panicked. I took the money she gave me and left the city. I told myself I was protecting you, protecting us. She looked around the cramped room, at the cracked walls and the broken window latch. This is what my fear brought us, she said quietly. Years of struggle. Years of you growing up without a father. Lila's eyes overflowed. She threw her arms around her mother. I don't hate you, she sobbed. I wish you hadn't had to do it alone. Anna hugged her back, crying too. So do I, mi amor? She whispered. After a long moment, Lila pulled back. Mum, she said, wiping her face, Daniel gave me his number because he wants to see you. He said he's been searching for you for 10 years. He cried when he found out you were alive. Anna looked at the note in Lila's hand. Her fingers trembled as she took it. I don't know if I can face him, she whispered. How do I tell him I kept his daughter from him for 9 years? How do I explain why I ran? The same way you explained it to me, Lila said softly. With the truth. Anna stared at her daughter, amazed by how much wisdom could live in such a small body. You really want to meet him? She asked. Lila nodded. I've spent my whole life wondering why I didn't have a dad, she said. If he really didn't know, then maybe we all deserve a second chance. Anna closed her eyes. She had spent 10 years running from the past, 10 years hiding, 10 years carrying guilt like a stone. She was exhausted. Okay, she whispered. Tomorrow, when I feel a little stronger, I'll call him. Why not today? Lila asked. Anna gave a weak, shaky smile. Because I want to at least be able to sit up without coughing my lungs out when I see him, she said. I don't want his first sight of me after 10 years to be me looking like I've come back from the dead. Lila laughed through her tears. Okay, Mum, tomorrow. But that night, Anna barely slept. And neither did Lila. The next morning, after Lila bought Anna's medicine at the pharmacy downstairs and made her a simple breakfast, they stood together by the old payphone in the lobby. Anna held the piece of paper with Daniel's number on it. Her hands shook so much she almost dropped the coins. What if he hates me? She whispered. What if he blames me? He told me to tell you he's not angry, Lila said firmly. He just wants to talk. Anna took a breath so deep it hurt her chest. Then she dialed. 1 ring. 2, 3. Part of her almost hoped he wouldn't pick up, that she could say she tried and go back to hiding. Then the line clicked. Anna Daniel's voice said, breathless, disbelieving, as if he already somehow knew. Anna's knees almost gave out. It's me, she whispered. Daniel. Silence. Then she heard him inhale sharply. Is it really you? He asked, voice shaking. Where are you? Are you okay? Lila said. You're sick. I can send a doctor. Daniel, please, Anna interrupted softly. I'm okay for now. The medicine helps. I needed to call you. I need to explain. You don't have to explain anything over the phone, he said quickly. Please, let me see you. I need to know you're real. I need to look at you with my own eyes. Anna closed hers, tears spilling over. She gave him the address. I'll be there in 20 minutes, he said. Anna, thank you for calling. When she hung up, her hands were still trembling. He's coming, she told Lila, half in wonder, half in fear. He's really coming. It's going to be okay, Mum, Lila said, squeezing her hand. I can feel it. They went back upstairs. Anna tried to straighten the room, but there wasn't much to straighten. She smoothed the blanket. She tucked the medicine box under the pillow. She glanced at herself in the cracked mirror and winced at how thin and tired she looked. You're still beautiful, Lila said quietly. Anna smiled sadly. Maybe he'll still see that, she whispered. The knock on the door made both of them jump. Anna's heart hammered as she stood up on shaky legs. She looked at Lila. Lila nodded. Anna opened the door. Daniel stood there, breathing hard like he'd run up the stairs instead of taking them at a normal pace. His once perfect shirt was wrinkled. His hair was messy. His eyes were red, as if he hadn't slept or had been crying. For one long, suspended moment, they simply stared at each other. 10 years of silence. 10 years of questions. 10 years of missing pieces pressed together in the small, dim doorway. Daniel Aina whispered. Aina, he breathed. The sound of each other's names broke something open inside them. Anna began to cry. I'm so sorry, she sobbed. I'm so sorry. Daniel stepped forward and pulled her into his arms. She sagged against him, weak and shaking, and for the first time in a decade, she let herself lean on him. He murmured. You're here. That's all that matters. We'll talk about everything. But you're here. You're alive. Over his shoulder, he saw Lila sitting on the mattress, watching them with wide eyes. His chest tightened. He slowly released Anna and walked toward the little girl. He knelt down in front of her. Hi, he said softly. Hi, she replied, voice barely more than a whisper. Now that he was in front of her, she didn't know what to say. The word Dad sat on her tongue like a weight she was afraid to move. You look just like her, Daniel said, his voice thick. But you have my nose. I'm sorry about that. Lila let out a little laugh through her tears. Mum says my nose doesn't match my face, she admitted. I guess now I know where it came from. Daniel laughed, to a broken, joyful sound. He reached out, hesitated, then gently touched her cheek, as if afraid she would disappear. I'm so sorry I wasn't there, he whispered. For your first steps, your first words, your birthdays, all the nights you were scared or sick. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault, Lila said quietly. You didn't know? Daniel pulled her into a hug. She hugged him back, feeling something settle in her chest, a missing piece sliding into place. Anna watched them, tears streaming down her face, her heart breaking and healing all at once. For years, she had imagined this moment going wrong in 100 different ways. She had never dared picture it going right. Over the next few hours, they talked. Anna told Daniel everything she had told Lila, about Victoria's threats, the men, the money, the phone call at the bus station. Daniel listened, his face shifting from disbelief to horror to anger. My mother did this, he said hoarsely when Anna finished. She drove you away. She made you take our baby and disappear. Anna nodded. I thought you knew, she whispered. I thought you chose her side. I never knew you were pregnant, Daniel said, his voice shaking. I never knew she came to see you. I thought you'd stopped loving me. One day you were just gone. I went back to the cafe, and you'd quit. Your roommate said you'd left. Mother said she'd heard you'd run off with someone else. Every time I brought up your name, she changed the subject, or told me I needed to move on. He looked at Anna, pain in every line of his face. For 10 years, I blamed myself for losing you, he said. And now I find out, you were out there, struggling, raising our daughter alone, because of her. Anna reached for his hand. I should have tried harder to tell you, she said. I should have found a way to get past her. No, Daniel said firmly. She's the one who should have trusted me enough to make my own choices. She's the one who chose money and status over my happiness. She's the one who will have to answer for it. He looked at Anna's thin frame, her tired eyes, the way every breath seemed to cost her effort. How long have you been sick? He asked. A few months, she admitted. It started as a small cough. I went to the free clinic when it got worse. They said I needed tests that were too expensive. Then we're going to a real hospital, Daniel said, standing up. Right now, Daniel, we can't afford. You don't ever say that again, he interrupted gently. You and Lila are not going to worry about money anymore. Not for medicine, not for food, not for rent. I should have been taking care of you for years. Let me do it now. He turned to Lila. Pack your things, he said. Anything important, put it in a bag. We're going. Lila looked around their small room. Everything important fit into one worn backpack. A few clothes, her schoolbooks. An old stuffed rabbit missing one ear, and a small envelope of photographs. That's it? Daniel asked quietly when she zipped the bag. That's all we have, Lila said. He nodded once, jaw tight. Then that's the last time anyone in this family lives with, that's all we have, he said. At the hospital, doctors and nurses moved quickly once they saw who Daniel was. He insisted on the best care, the best room. Tests showed that Anna had a serious lung infection, anemia, and malnutrition, but it was all treatable with strong medicine, rest, and proper food. She needed to stay for at least a week. Dr. Patel, a calm woman with kind eyes, explained. Maybe longer, but she came just in time. Anna tried to protest about the cost. Daniel didn't let her finish. I'd sell every property I own if that's what it took, he said. Your only job now is to get better. While Anna slept, Lila and Daniel sat in the hospital room. They had so much to catch up on. He asked about her school, her favorite subjects, the books she liked. She told him about waking early every day to make sure her mum ate before she went to work, about hiding late fees from the landlord, about selling oranges after class. She told him about the kids who teased her for not having a dad. I used to make up stories, she admitted, staring at her hands. I told them you were a pilot, or a soldier, or a sailor traveling the world. I said you couldn't be here, but you always thought about us. Daniel's eyes filled again. I wish I had been, he said. I wish I'd known where to find you. You do now, she said, giving him a small smile. He smiled back. Lila, he said carefully, I want to ask you something. For legal reasons, my mother will fight this. She'll say, your mother is lying. She'll try to say, you're not really my daughter. Would you be willing to do a DNA test? It's simple and painless. It would prove, scientifically, that we're related. Like on those TV shows? Lila asked. Kind of, Daniel said, chuckling. Only a lot less dramatic. Will it hurt? She asked. Just a quick swab inside your cheek? No needles? She thought it over. If it helps protect Mum from your mother, she said, I'll do it. Daniel squeezed her hand. You're brave, he said. You get that from your mother. And maybe a little from me. The test was done that evening. All right, Dr. Patel said. We'll have the results in a couple of days. 2 days later, Daniel paced the hospital room while Lila sat on the bed beside Anna, who was already looking better, the color returning to her cheeks, the cough less violent. Dr. Patel walked in holding an envelope. The room went still. Daniel took the paper, unfolded it with trembling hands, and read. For a second, he didn't move. Then his face broke into the biggest, brightest smile Lila had ever seen. 99.9% match, he said, voice shaking. Lila, you are my daughter. Officially. Scientifically. Absolutely. Lila let out a shout of joy and threw herself into his arms. I have a dad, she cried. I really have a dad. And I have a daughter, he said, holding her tight. The most amazing daughter in the whole world. Anna watched them, tears streaming down her face, but this time, they were tears of joy. Their family was finally real, not just in the heart, but on paper, too. But while they celebrated, Daniel knew there was one more battle ahead. Victoria, his mother. The woman whose choices had stolen 10 years from all of them. He couldn't build a future with Anna and Lila until he faced the past. The next morning, just after sunrise, Daniel stepped out of the hospital room while Anna and Lila were still sleeping. He walked outside into the cool morning air, pulled out his phone, and dialed a number he knew by heart. His mother answered on the second ring. Daniel, darling, she said. Do you know what time? I need to see you, he said, his voice leaving no room for argument. Today? In 1 hour. At the house? Catherine Victoria, in Fosneft. I have a brunch meeting with the charity board at 11. Can this not? 1 hour, Daniel repeated. Cancel your brunch. He hung up. For the first time in his life, he didn't stay on the line to hear her reaction. At the hospital, Anna was awake when he returned. You're going to see her, aren't you? She asked softly. Daniel nodded. Have to, he said. She needs to know about you and Lila, and she needs to answer for what she did. Anna's hands twisted in the blanket. Be careful, she whispered. She's clever, manipulative. I know, he said. But I'm not the same boy she bullied 10 years ago. Lila stirred on the small cot the hospital had provided. Is it the mean grandmother? She mumbled sleepily. Daniel smiled sadly. Yes, he said. But she's going to find out I have something stronger than her money now. What's that? Lila asked. He glanced back at Anna and Lila, both watching him. Something she can't control, he said. A family. Victoria's estate was even larger than Daniel's, or stone walls and manicured gardens. He stepped through the front door, greeted half-heartedly by the long-time housekeeper, Mrs. Chun, and walked straight to the morning room, without waiting to be announced. His mother sat by the window, in an expensive suit, reading the newspaper and sipping perfectly brewed coffee. Everything about her was neat, controlled, precise. Danya, she said without looking up. This had better be important. I had to cancel brunch with Mrs. Wellington. It is important, he said. He didn't sit. Where were you 10 years ago on the night of April 17th? Her eyes flicked up, annoyance in them. 10 years ago. How should I? That was the night Anna disappeared, Daniel said. The night the woman I loved vanished. Victoria's mouth tightened. We are still talking about that girl? She snapped. I thought you had finally moved on. Her name is Anna, Daniel said calmly. And I haven't moved on. Not even close. Especially now that I know why she left. He watched her face. For a second, he saw it's the tiniest flicker of fear. What nonsense has she told you? Victoria asked, but her voice had lost some of its power. She told me you came to her room with 2 men, Daniel said. She told me you threatened to accuse her of theft if she didn't disappear. That you gave her money and told her I'd never believe her over you? Silence. Victoria's fingers tightened around her coffee cup. If that girl is making up stories? She's not, Daniel cut in, anger rising. Because it sounds exactly like something you would do. He took a step closer. You have controlled my life since I was born, he said. You chose my schools, my friends, my career. You even tried to approve who I dated. But the one thing I chose for myself was Anna. And you tore her away from me. I saved you, Victoria said coldly. She was a nobody, Daniel. A poor girl with nothing. She would have dragged you down. Everything I built for you. She was pregnant, he said quietly. The room went still. Victoria's face went white. What? She whispered. She was pregnant when you threatened her, Daniel said. She was carrying my child. She left the city with our baby because she believed your lies. He took a breath. I have a daughter, he said. Her name is Lila. She is 9 years old. She's smart and brave and kind. And because of what you did, she grew up in a 1-room apartment, selling oranges to buy medicine for her sick mother. Victoria stared at him, eyes wide. I didn't know, she stammered. I thought, you didn't think at all, Daniel said. You just decided you knew best? You decided your plan for my life mattered more than another human being's entire future. He turned toward the window, trying to steady his voice. Anna went to a payphone the next day, he said. She tried to call me. Do you remember that call, Mother? Victoria swallowed. Yes, she whispered. I answered. I told her. You didn't wish to speak with her. You told her I said she was just after my money, Daniel said. That I never wanted to see her again. You hung up and never told me she called? The truth lay between them like broken glass. What are you going to do? She asked. Daniel looked back at her. I'm going to protect my family, he said. Anna and Lila are coming home with me. I will take care of them. I will marry Anna as soon as she's well enough. And you? He took a step closer. You are going to leave them alone. Her lips parted in shock. Daniel, I am your mother, she began. And Anna is the woman I love, he said. Lila is my daughter. If you ever threaten them, insult them, or try to manipulate them, I will cut you off. No visits. No calls. No holidays. You will not see me. You will not see your granddaughter. Ever again. Victoria stared at him as if she hardly recognized him. You can't mean that, she whispered. I've never meant anything more, Daniel said. For the first time in his life, he saw tears in his mother's eyes. I want to meet her, she said finally. The child, Lila. And Anna. Why? Daniel asked, wary. So you can scare them away again? No, she said, her voice trembling. Because I made a terrible mistake. Because I let my pride destroy something precious. And because I don't want to die alone in this big, empty house, knowing I chased away the only family I had left. Daniel studied her carefully. He didn't trust sudden changes. But he also knew what it felt like to want a second chance. You will meet them, he said slowly. But not until Anna is strong and Lila feels safe. And if you say one cruel word, if you even hint at the woman you were 10 years ago, that will be the last time you see them. Or me." Victoria nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I understand," she said. Back at the hospital, Daniel told Anna and Lila everything. "She admitted it," he said. "All of it. The threats. The lies. She wants to meet you both." Anna went pale. "I'm not ready," she whispered. "I'm still afraid of her." "You don't have to see her until you are," Daniel said gently. "And when you do, I'll be right there. She doesn't control anything anymore." Lila bit her lip. "She sounds sad," the little girl said. "Like someone who's been alone for a long time, too?" Anna and Daniel exchanged a look. Children had a way of seeing through layers adults built. "We'll take things slowly," Daniel said. "Step by step. For now, we focus on getting you home." "Home," Anna repeated. "To what?" "That apartment." "To our home," Daniel said. "To my house. To your house. To Lila's house. There's plenty of space, and it's been empty far too long." Anna's eyes filled again. "Are you sure?" she whispered. "I've never been more sure," he said. A week later, Anna walked out of the hospital healthier than she had been in months. Daniel helped her into the car. Lila climbed into the back seat, face pressed to the window as the city flashed by. When the car turned onto the long driveway with the huge iron gate, Lila's heart skipped. The last time she had walked here, she'd been a scared girl with a bag of oranges. Now she was coming home with her mother. And she smiled to herself, her father. Anna was silent as the mansion came into view. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "It was always missing something," Daniel said. "Now, it won't be." Inside, he gave them a tour. The bright kitchen, the wide living room, the study, the library, the garden. Then he led Lila up the stairs. "These rooms are empty," he said, opening door after door. "You can choose whichever one you like." Lila peeked into each, some with big windows, some with balconies, some with built-in shelves. She stopped in front of a room painted a soft sky blue, with sunlight streaming across the floor. "This one," she said. "Then it's yours," Daniel smiled. "Tomorrow, we'll go shopping. You can pick your bed, desk, shelves, everything. This is your space now." Lila flung her arms around him. "Thank you, Dad," she said. The word came easier this time. It felt right. That night, they ordered pizza and ate it on the living room floor. Anna laughed more than she had in years. Lila told silly stories from school. Daniel just watched them, heart so full it hurt. Later, when Lila fell asleep in her soon-to-be room on a mattress they'd borrowed from a guest room, Daniel and Anna sat together in the garden. Under the stars, he pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. "I bought this 10 years ago," he said quietly. "I was going to ask you a question, but you were gone before I had the chance." He opened the box. Inside lay a simple diamond ring. Anna's hand flew to her mouth. "Daniel, I kept it all these years," he said. "Because some part of me couldn't let you go. Anna, we lost 10 years we can never get back. But we have today. And tomorrow. And all the days after. Will you marry me?" Tears spilled over. "Yes," she whispered, voice trembling. "Yes, of course I will." He slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, like it had been waiting the whole time. 2 weeks later, Victoria arrived at the mansion. Daniel opened the door, leaving Anna and Lila in the living room. When they entered, Victoria stopped. Lila stood beside the couch in a new dress, twisting the hem nervously. Anna sat on the edge of the seat, Daniel's hand clasped firmly in hers. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Victoria looked at Lila. "She has your eyes," she murmured to Daniel, "and your grandfather's chin." She took a careful step forward. "Hello, Lila," she said softly. "I'm your grandmother." Lila glanced at her parents. They gave a small nod. "Hello," Lila replied. Victoria turned to Anna. "Anna," she said. "I owe you an apology." The apologist seemed to cost her a great effort, but she said it anyway. "What I did 10 years ago was wrong," she continued. "I thought I was protecting my son. I was arrogant and cruel. I hurt you. I hurt Daniel. I hurt Lila, even before she was born. I don't expect forgiveness, but I am truly sorry." Anna studied her. She saw the same sharp eyes, the same proud posture, but also something else: exhaustion, regret. The fear of a woman who had finally realized she could lose everything. "I can't forget what you did," Anna said, voice steady, "not ready to forgive you. But I do believe people can change. And I believe Lila deserves a chance to know her whole family. If that family is safe for her." She took a breath. "So we can try. Slowly. With boundaries." Tears glistened in Victoria's eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "That's more than I deserve." She turned to Lila again. "Would it be all right if I sat and talked with you for a while?" she asked. Lila looked up at her parents. Daniel gave a reassuring smile. Anna squeezed her hand. "Okay," Lila said. The months that followed were full of changes and healing. Lila started at a new school, when no one teased her for not having a dad, because now she did. Anna's health continued to improve. She regained strength, put on weight, and laughed more often. She took a few online classes and started helping Daniel with some charity projects, using her own experiences to design programs for single parents. The mansion, once silent and cold, echoed with footsteps, music, and laughter. Victoria visited once a week, never overstaying, always careful to be respectful. She brought books instead of expensive toys, understanding that affection couldn't be bought. She and Anna never became best friends, but they learned to exist in the same space without fear. Slowly, grudges turned into cautious peace. 1 month after Daniel proposed, they held a small wedding in the garden. Lila scattered flower petals down the aisle in a white dress, grinning from ear to ear. Friends, a few cousins, and even Dr. Patel came to watch. When Daniel and Anna stood under an arch of roses and promised to love each other through everything, there wasn't a dry eye in the yard. "I loved you then," Daniel said, looking into Anna's eyes. "I love you now, and I'll love you for the rest of my life." "You and Lila are my home," Anna replied. "You always were. I just had to find my way back." They kissed, and everyone clapped. Lila shouted, "Finally!" making the guests laugh. Victoria sat in the back row, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. For the first time in years, she felt something inside her loosen a grip she'd kept on her son's life, finally letting go. Years passed. Lila grew up in a house full of love and warmth, not perfect, because real life never is, but safe. She never forgot the small apartment, the hunger, the cold nights. Those memories made her kinder, more grateful. When she grew older and had children of her own, they would sometimes sit at the foot of her bed and ask for a story. "Tell us the one about the oranges," they'd say. "Tell us how you met, Grandad." So she would smile and begin. "Once, when I was 9 years old, I was selling oranges on the street to buy medicine for Grandma Anna. I knocked on a stranger's mansion door, except he wasn't really a stranger. He was my father, and I didn't know it yet." Her children would gasp and lean in closer as she told them how one simple question, "Why is my mum's picture in your house?" changed everything. "It sounds like a fairy tale," they'd say when she finished. "It does," Lila would agree. "But it's real. And it taught me something important." "What?" they would ask. "That real love never gives up," she'd say. "People can make terrible mistakes. Pride can break families apart. But love, it waits, it hopes. And when we're brave enough to tell the truth, it finds its way back home." And somewhere, on a table in the big warm house, two photographs would sit side by side. One of a young woman in a blue dress, laughing at the camera by the river. And another, of a family daimyo, Anna and Lila, standing together in the garden, smiling with a joy they had fought hard to earn. Every time they passed those pictures, they were reminded of the same thing. Money can buy houses, but not homes. Control can build walls, but not trust. Only love, earnest, patient, stubborn love can turn a stranger's door into the doorway of a family. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that second chances are real. Comment below what lesson you learned from Lila's journey and tell us where in the world you're watching from. Your support helps more people find these emotional, life-changing stories.